Kalimera, Kalispera, Kalinita. Hi, everybody. And I hope that that is the right way to say this, and I hope I'm remembering correctly. It's been a lot of years since I spent some time on the island of Cyprus, where everybody speaks Greek. And so I did learn a few words. I don't remember most of them, but I believe that is how you say good morning, good afternoon, and good night. So this month's spread is inspired by the memories that I have from my time spent in Cyprus. I hope you enjoy as we make a beautiful spread, which is my favorite out of the year so far. I really enjoyed making it. It was so much fun. So I hope you enjoy it with me. Let's get going. So I'm starting off with some simple watercolors that I did. I had a lot of fun this month, and it actually was very time consuming, but I did a few watercolors, and I kind of am trying to learn a little bit more how to do the watercolors, and I did have a lot of fun. I think I learned a lot, and I really enjoyed the process. And I think my biggest tip is that you have to be patient, because as you can see right away, the wine from the cup kind of bled into the bottle. I didn't wait long enough to let the bottle dry before I went right in for the wine color. But as the saying goes, happy little mistakes. So I'm continuing on, and I just did this one free-handed. I didn't use a tutorial or anything like that. I did do one watercolor based on a tutorial, and that is the street view one that you'll see later. But right now I'm just showing you with a very sped up version of how I did this simple wine and wine bottle watercolor. I think I like it. I know I can do better, but like I said, I'm learning. So it's a process, but I really do love how it all came together, and I think I've got the watercolor bug more than ever right now. So one of the things that shocked me, I think it was a bit of culture shock when I was in Cyprus. I was 16 years old, and coming from the US, it was my first time being out of the country. And I remember watching as I think it was a 6 or an 8-year-old, somewhere around that age, casually walked to the store and brought back some wine. And I realized that things were very different in that part of the world. The children can go and they can buy alcohol. It's really not a big deal. Wine is very common. There are grapes hanging everywhere, trellises everywhere, olive trees, and it was really beautiful. And it opened up my mind for the first time in my life just to the beauty of different cultures. And ever since then, I've loved learning about different cultures and experiencing them. And I've really grown to respect the different cultures that people are raised in, and how it really forms society in different parts of the world. This watercolor, I ventured out into doing people, and I'm not confident in them, but it was very simple. And I did this, I just looked up a picture of, an old Greek woman on the internet, and then I tried to copy that. But the reason I wanted to have at least one person was because I loved seeing the older people in Cyprus. There would be these old ladies, as you see here, completely dressed in black, with these huge brooms made out of, just dried plants. And they would be sweeping the streets. And I had never seen anybody sweeping like the sidewalk or the actual street in front of their house before. That's actually something that happens here in Mexico. But I had never seen that before at that time. And these old ladies just had this look to them that they seemed serious or stern, and yet at the same time kind. I don't know. I liked them, even though we couldn't speak to them, nor they to us, but they just seemed nice in their own way. So I wanted to have one of them in here, and this is how it turned out. And I'm not that great at people yet, but I decided to keep it in there. And here I'm doing the street view, and this is the one I did use a tutorial, although I didn't stick to the tutorial 100%. On the tutorial, it was much bigger piece of paper. Mine is just this very small, like 4x6 watercolor paper. But I wanted to do that because that was another part that was a big part of the essence of my memories of being there, was just the streets, the cobblestone, and then all of the buildings made out of, like plaster and limestone, and the different wooden doors. There are so many things that I didn't add in here that I would have liked to, but for time's sake I couldn't, like the big outdoor ovens. They kind of look like pizza ovens, but not. Every house seemed to have one, and there were so many grapes everywhere. So I did put grapes in here, but I mean, there was grapes everywhere. And it was a really beautiful time. It was a beautiful place, and I got to experience it all with my two little sisters. That just made it even more special. We experienced leaving the country for the first time together, and the new culture, and all these adventures together with my two younger sisters, and we had so much fun. The memories are so precious to me. So I think that's why I really enjoyed doing this month's spread. So you saw me doing a sketch of olive branches for the calendar page of April. And then these are the colors that I've chosen. I didn't end up using all of them, but this was more or less the palette. And so speaking of palettes, I actually did buy a couple of palettes that are actually for painting finally this month. And as you may have already noticed, I got paintbrushes, which I'm so happy about. But I'm still using random things as a palette for my brushes, for the watercolor brushes, because the palette that I got are with the little dips, and it's a little hard to color into them with the brush pens. And so I'm still going for just little plastic things that I can kind of scribble on, and then I'm using my brush to pick them up and mix on them, and it works out really well. Maybe eventually I'll get one of those big flat palettes, but for now I'm using that. And the good thing is that I do have the palettes, because I did get gouache paints this last month, and I am still working on becoming comfortable using them. I'm not quite there yet, so that's why I went ahead and kept going with my watercolors for this month. But I will be using my gouache paints in the future, and with my palettes, and with all my new brush pens. So here I am just going over these olive leaves. I'm trying to do different shades, different angles of the leaves, and make them not look too uniform, because if you look at olive branches, the leaves tend to look more grayish or silvery on one side, darker on the other, and they twist a little bit. So that's what I'm trying to bring across in this simple olive branch illustration. So here we take a bright green and mix it with our olive green, and that is how I got this beautiful color for the olives. I also leave some small white circles or ovals on each olive, on most of them, not every single one, and that way it looks like they're reflecting some light. And then I go back in and I add another layer of the same color to add some shadows and give them a little bit more depth and dimension. I also added some more layers into some of the leaves to make them not so one-dimensional. So here I am putting in the letters for April, and you are about to see me make my very sad mistake of writing down wrong the entire month, the numbers of each day. I don't know why. I had gone and I had checked. I'm not sure where the mistake was, if I just saw it wrong, but I thought that the first was a Sunday, and so I wrote the whole month that, and it took me a little while to realize it. Anyways, here I am doing the second page, and then using my stick glue to glue on my wine bottle picture into the center here. And I like how it all came together with the olive branches. And then I am taking my tape off. By the way, I did realize I could use masking tape, like just the regular tape that you use for painting or whatever, and it works, and I'm not wasting all of my beautiful washi tapes. So that's nice. So there it is, and there's me thinking that it looks awesome and I did a great job, and going over to the next spread. So I am using some packing paper that came in a package to decorate, and I just had this one piece. I thought I would try it, and it worked out really well. So I'm ripping some long thin strips, and I will put a piece on either side of the page, of each page on this spread. And I will be using my stick glue, of course. The stick glue is so awesome. I don't know what I would do without it. I used to kind of fold over the tape and do that, but that never really worked well, and it didn't stick it all the way down. So then I got those little, I don't know what they're called, but the little glue roll-on things that kind of click, and they're very satisfying to use. But here in Mexico, where I'm at, it's actually, I haven't been able to find them. So I would pick them up when I go to the US, but then I run out and there's no refills. So stick glue has come to the rescue, and it's really the star of the show this month because I'm using it for everything. But it worked out really well. I don't know if you noticed, the paper is like really wrinkly, and then after I apply the stick glue on the back of it and I press it down onto the paper, it's completely smooth. So I really liked that effect and how well it worked together with the stick glue. And here I made a small paper bag that I hope resembled a grocery bag. And you'll see what that's for. It's for some interactive habit trackers for the month. Okay, so here I finally realized I had made that mistake, and then I'm just figuring out what I'm gonna do to fix it. So what I did was I punched a bunch of holes in the packing paper, and then I glued one over each and every date. And then I went with a pen and I wrote the correct days over the little circles, and it worked out pretty well. And then here we have some habit trackers that I made on little pieces of paper that I cut out, and I just put the little calendar. I had to correct some of those too and block out the first day because I had done those wrong as well. So I'm setting those to the side while I take the doodles that I did and I cut out off camera of groceries. So the first little thing that I'm doing here is a bag of lemons. So I'm coloring them in. I'm going straight in with my brush pen and I'm just coloring them all bright yellow. And then I want to make the green mesh bag around them. So I get a green, I'm doing the border, and then I will do lines kind of diagonally across them. And I try to kind of sway them with the shape of the lemons so that it looks like the bag is stretching a little bit with them. I'm not sure if it's very noticeable at all, but I did one direction and then the other. And I think it does look like a little bag of lemons. So there's that one. What I was going for here was just the basic groceries that I think somebody might be taking home to make dinner on an island in Greece or in Cyprus. Okay, this is a piece of bread, or loaf of bread, I should say. And I'm gonna be honest here. The bread that I experienced in Cyprus was not very yummy. It was rock hard and it was not tasty. I'm sure there is tasty bread, but it just wasn't there where I was at. And where I was at was in a very small village up on a mountain. So it makes sense that maybe things weren't as fresh or as, I don't know, there wasn't that much variety up there of baked good. It was just a very small village with 2 really small little stores. And I believe of all the businesses that were in the village, the main store, a little hotel with a pool, and I don't know, I think there was something else too. They all belonged to the same person. So yes, it was very small, very quaint, but not a lot of variety as far as bread goes. So for the final item that I am making, it is a bottle. I think it's a wine bottle, but it could also be an olive oil bottle. I'm not sure, and I didn't label it. I kind of left it open to the imagination. But there they are. And I'm just going to choose the position I want them to sit in while they're in my little grocery bag and glue them onto the back of my habit trackers in that position. And that way, when they're all in there, they will not be overlapping in ways that I don't want them to, and they will kind of all fit nicely together, and we'll be able to see each item individually. So there they are. I love them. What do you think? I think that they're really cute. And I love the little grocery bag. So the next step is to actually label the bag, and I'm just going to put daily habits on the bag. So the next thing I did over on the left side is a pen drawing. I did go in first with pencil because I'm not that confident to just go straight in with the pen yet. But I just did it of the beach and I thought it looked really cute. I really like the simplicity of it and how it goes together with the brown paper. And then for our next spread, I am getting in that watercolor paper, that painting that I already did, and I'm just gonna make it fit onto the page, and I'm gonna pair it together with some of the brown packing paper and kind of layer them together. So I grabbed my trusty stick glue, and you know what we do by now. We just cover that paper up in the glue and then we press it down and it turns out so beautifully. And then we will position our watercolor painting on top of it. So as I turn back, because I'm adding in some washi tape onto the edge of the previous page as well, you can see that I added in a Bible verse off camera, and I just added it onto that brown packing paper. I thought it was a perfect little spot to add in some cursive writing, and so I chose that passage and I wrote it down there. I love the look of the cursive writing on the side paper there, and I'm also happy with the placing of it because I will be coming back to this page many times throughout the month, and I will be seeing the verse every time I come through here for my habit trackers. And then here I've just written in menu, and I'm using my highlighters to make some lines, first in brown and then in olive green color, so that my lines are easier to see as I write down my menu items. And then once again, going back to the packing paper, and I'm choosing a piece. I'm seeing how it will look from the first page and how it will lay, and then cutting around it roughly, and then I will repeat the process. So I want to talk a little bit more about all my favorite memories of Cyprus. So if you can just imagine, going out with your two little sisters. My sisters and I have always been really close, and we would just laugh at everything. There's so much laughter all the time. So we would take walks, and we would walk through the village first to go out, and in the store, or right outside the store, there was like a patio where there was always quite a few elderly men all sitting around playing chess, and it seemed like that's all they would do, is just play chess all day long. Every day we would walk by there and they were there playing chess, and there'd be 6 or 7 of them all sitting around watching the chess game. That we would walk through there, walk past them. There would be women with piles of carob sorting it, and we would walk by, and then we would walk into the countryside, and we would find carob trees. If you've never seen or heard of carob before, it's a bean type of thing that grows on a tree, and it's considered to be a chocolate substitute. And unlike actual chocolate, it's naturally sweet. So we would pick those beans off, and then we would munch on them as we took our walk. We would find almonds, and we would munch on the almonds, grapes sometimes, and we would see donkeys and the rock walls and everything. It was just so beautiful. They were really nice walks to take, and it was very peaceful. So I think that was really my most favorite memory of all, just taking that time walking around with my sisters. It was so much fun. So as I had mentioned, there was a lot of grapes, as you can imagine. It seemed like every house had its own little trellis with grapes hanging down through the trellis above a sitting area. And yet, even though they were in the houses, you would walk into the countryside and there would be grapes on walls, on rock walls, on fences. And there would be dried up grapes that you could tell nobody had even bothered to eat them. So there was just an abundance of grapes and figs. Actually, there was a lot of figs too. So yummy. So I did this pen sketch for my first weekly spread of April, and I just did a bundle of grapes. I like how it turned out. And then I'm using my stencil to make a space for each day, and I'm going pretty big because I'm trying to make these weekly spreads for this month a little bit more simple. And actually, these stencils are the perfect size to fit in 6 to 7 days on each spread. And since the first week it is only Monday through Saturday, I am only putting in 6 days, and then I'm using my brown highlighter again to make a little line for each space, and then going in with my pen and writing in the name of the day. So for the second week spread, I have sketched a cat on a piece of the packing paper, and I'm going to rip the excess paper off of that, and then I'm going to glue it down. And the reason that I chose to put a cat in here for one of the weeks is because a nickname of Cyprus is actually the Island of Cats. And that is due to the fact that there are actually more cats than people on the island. You can Google it if you like to Google and read articles and stuff like that. But it is kind of interesting, and there are definitely a lot of cats. There's like cat sanctuaries and stuff like that. One thing I have not Googled that maybe I will is the mouse population on Cyprus, because I'm guessing that it's not a very big one. So here we are doing our third week spread, and once again we are adding in that packing paper and the space for the days with the mini calendar, and keeping it very simple. So you may notice that I haven't added in all the other trackers that I was doing before, and I'm not saying that I won't bring them back, but this time of the year I feel very busy and there's a lot going on in my life, so I decided to make there be a little bit more room for the daily spaces, but to keep it simple as far as all the things that I want to track, like my self-care and stuff like that, and instead I added in those little habit trackers. That's the beauty about bullet journaling, is that you can make it yours, and it is whatever you need it to be. So if you want to try it and you haven't yet, go ahead and try something simple and don't feel intimidated. Sometimes a pen and a bullet journal is all that you really need to get started. I thank each and every one of you for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope it's inspired you in one way or another. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Goodbye, or as they say in Cyprus, addio.